it's nice to meet you fellow super fans. I feel like every season I naturally gravitate to the super fan teams for obvious reasons. Like I, like you, have applied multiple times, and when it finally happened, it was a dream come true. So I want to know, because we already know that you've applied 7 times and it took so many attempts to ultimately get cast. But once you're actually on the race and doing it, you start to learn very quickly how hard it is. So what do you, going from a
Yeah.
viewer to a racer, what was the hardest learning curve for the two of you?
I think the thing that we learned very quickly is that you're actually not operating with your highest intelligence when
No,
you're on the race, right?
nope,
Like
it's
you are
race brain.
exactly. You have race brain. You're depleted of energy. You probably didn't get a great night of sleep. You're sleeping in airports, and that really affects your ability to make like your best decision. And that is the biggest thing that was a challenge for us. I also think we got thrown right into the fire with the fork in the road,
Hmm.
where we came in feeling really confident. Like we had a lot of time to train. We even watched your videos about how you guys trained. We did the same thing. We memorized all the top phrases for all the
Yep.
taxi. Like we followed your game plan to a T. And so we came in feeling like we're going to be one of the strongest teams here. And we ended up at the end of leg one, if you zoom out, doing pretty solid. Like we didn't finish at the very top of the pack, which was actually what we wanted to do. We didn't want a target on our back. We didn't finish in the back either. We finished at 6 out of 14, which was like perfect for us. However, when you zoom in, we were seconds away from being eliminated on leg one of the Amazing Race. And to go from like, we're one of the strongest teams here, we're ready to like win this whole thing, to oh my God, did we almost just get eliminated on the first leg of the Amazing Race? It created this fear in us that
Yeah.
we like really couldn't fully shake off for the rest of the legs. And so we would start the next leg and the next leg and the next leg, starting fresh, shaking it off, but then something would happen, some major adversity, a judge didn't go our way or
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
might be. Every leg there was something, and then it would re-trigger that like anxiety, like, oh my God, we're gonna get eliminated That all over survival again.
yeah.
And so that was when we got raised brain on steroids, and it really was something that we just couldn't shake up until this leg. Like we rushed at the very end because we got the double U-turn, and boom, they re-triggered that same feeling from leg one, like, oh my God, here we go again. And so
Exactly.
we ended up rushing and making really dumb decisions.
Yeah, that race brain, it really gets you. And it's so easy as a viewer, as you know, to be watching and be like, oh my God, why are they not reading their clue? And I'm like, it's race brain. It's such a thing. You could train as much
Yeah.
as you want before leaving, but once you're thrown into the fire of it all, it's a completely different ball game. I want to talk about your experience in Bulgaria. So you guys left the pit start last because you barely survived in the Dubai leg, which was an epic finish, by the way. Congrats to the both of you.
Thank you.
In terms of Bulgaria itself, what would you say gave you the most trouble? Was it the navigation? Was it the map reading? Because we saw you guys stopping to ask for directions quite a bit.
I threw the map like to the ground after a while because this thing was like just way too big and it was taking me way too long to even find where I was on the map in the beginning. And so the clue that we had like basic instructions on where to go in terms of like how far down to go and what exits to take. So I tried my best to just use those directions because that was my navigating style going into the race was get somebody to give me their Google Maps, write down every step with the mile markers and just
Yeah.
follow it to a T. And that worked like magic in the very first leg getting to LA. In Bulgaria, where the letters are completely switched up and like they're not English letters and they're people who like don't even have phones, that just did not work as smoothly. And I probably in hindsight should have taken that extra time to orient myself on the map. But the navigation, I don't think was the biggest Yeah, so problem for us that
Well,
like if there's any good way to say it, we got lost in a good way actually. So what happened was we went past the turn we were originally supposed to make, and
okay.
we ended up going to actually the detour. We saw the wood and the hay, and we were like, okay, we're not in the right spot. So because we got lost there, we knew we made our way back to where we had to be, but then because we had got lost and we knew where we were going next, it was very easy to navigate there afterwards. So we did get lost, but it ended
Wow.
up being not the worst thing in the world because we knew kind of where we had to go next. I think our biggest challenge in Bulgaria was honestly
just responding to the U-turn, right? Like we were completely depleted of energy after doing carrying 400 pounds of wood, running back and forth and running to the church and trying to get there before Melinda and Erica, and then having to be in the haystacks and trying to race what felt like to be the one of the last teams there. And then just the sun just blazing down on us for 6 hours straight, right? I think that was the most challenging part was
Yeah.
keeping our cool during that really
Also
exhausting time.
keeping our mind in the right place
Yeah.
because it all came down to one or two pieces of wood. And if we didn't have to make that third trip and we just had one or maybe two pieces of wood on that second trip, we could have avoided this entire debacle. Nowhere in our minds did we think there was another team behind us for the first 3 hours in that hay challenge. So we're just like ruminating on that, on the fact that, oh my God, we're getting eliminated in this way is like crazy.
The wild part is like as super fans, we've obviously seen the challenges in the needle in the haystack, right? Where teams are in the hay for hours, right? Like, and we get to the moment where we have to make the decision at the detour where it's like, all right, you're gonna do hay or wood. And I turn to Mike and I'm like, Mike, we know the hay is like amazing race. History is made there. Like teams are
Yes.
stuck there for 8 hours. Let's definitely not do that. So we make the good decision, but unfortunately, the U-turn made us go experience the hay.
Hey, I get it. Being a super fan, you definitely know the race. It's like us with the watermelon stacking when we were in Paraguay.
Yeah.
We knew to stay away from the watermelons. But yeah, unfortunately, because of the U-turn, you guys had to face the hay. Before I talk about the U-turn itself, I saw some tweets going around on Twitter. I know editing, there's only so much they can put into the episode, but we never saw you guys go to the library. And a lot of fans are questioning, did you guys ever end up going? And I was like, I'll ask. So, did you guys ever end up going to the library?
You know what? It's really, really funny that you asked that because I, at one point last night watching with Nick, was like, I don't think they ever showed us at the library.
Now, all
And
of a
Nick looked,
sudden, you showed up at the detour.
yeah, and Nick was like, actually, I think you're right. And then it was true. They just completely neglected showing us at the library. But yeah, we went to the library.
Okay, I know.
That
Silly
was that
question,
was when we
but
did our backtrack. Maybe that's why, because like they would have had to tell the whole story if you like we got to the detour, but no one was there yet, so then we had to backtrack. So maybe to avoid having to like waste time telling that whole story, they just said screw it.
well, it's settled then. You guys definitely went
We
to
went to the library, yes.
Okay. So at the detour, you guys see Erica, Melinda, you see Han and Holden. It's a foot race to the U-turn board. Did you assume in that moment, because of how fast Melinda and Erica were running, that they were already anticipating U-turning you guys?
Once we saw them running, we're like, holy shit, why are they running so fast to this board? I started thinking like maybe they're gonna U-turn us, and that's what I was telling Mike. Mike, we better start running because
Right.
they might be U-turning us. It ended up being that they did. At first, we were really confused because we're like, why would you U-turn us? Like there's another team behind us too. And we just had a good relationship with them. It like didn't really make sense to us. But then after watching last night, it became clear that like they were operating with information that we were the only team behind them.
Yeah.
And with that
I was
information,
gonna ask that because as a
yeah, and with
viewer,
that,
it made
yeah,
sense, but you guys
yeah,
said it. I was
absolutely.
like, I was wondering if now it made sense to you why they ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. With that information, I mean, we would have probably done the same thing. If there was only one team that close to us, why wouldn't we give ourselves a little cushion if we're fighting for last and fighting for survival? And
Yeah.
we did that exact same thing to Han and Holden right behind us because we figured, okay, this is a thing of survival. We love Han and Holden, but like this is us versus them because no one knew about Jack and Carson, obviously. So yeah, it's no hard feelings. I mean, it's unfortunate that they didn't have all the information because as you can see, they kind of regret doing it to us. They would have probably done something very different if they had all the information.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We just got to accept it and roll with it.
So if you had gotten to the U-turn board before Melinda and Erica, what do you think you would have done?
I don't think we would have done anything, honestly, because
Nothing
we
at
felt
all.
like there were two teams behind us and we felt like we could probably beat them and probably wouldn't have done anything.
Oh,
We figured, yeah, the team right after us would probably just U-turn the team behind them.
Yeah.
And so rather than make any
Make an enemy.
enemies that could potentially survive,
Yeah.
let's just let them
Yeah,
battle it out.
exactly.
I was going to ask about Jack and Carson, but I think you mentioned it earlier in the interview about none of you knowing how far and how lost they actually got. Because again, I'm on the couch. It's so easy for me as a viewer. I was like, why is no one U-turning Jack and Carson?
So the teams in the back definitely didn't know. The teams in the front, right? They probably knew, but they were probably their gameplay was they didn't want to make enemies. But in retrospect, I'm sure those teams that were watching last night probably thought to themselves, damn, we should have U-turned Jack and Carson, right? They're a really strong team. They're in the back. Like they're probably worth U-turning right now. And I'm sure if they can go back, they probably would have done that because it was a self-drive. No one had any idea where anyone was.
Well, as lifelong fans, I can only imagine how it felt seeing Phil walk up to y'all doing the hay. But I gotta say, if you're gonna go out, you guys went out in true amazing race fashion to get this elimination, which is few and far between in the show. Walk me through what you were feeling in that moment.
Yeah, it was a bittersweet moment. And I say sweet because Mike and I were freaking exhausted. And during our time out there, we got attention from the medical staff because we were cramping up. They were worried that we were going to pass out from heat exhaustion. And I mean, if you know anything about us, right, it's that Mike and I don't give up. Like, we're going to keep fighting, right? Like, that was proof of us getting on the show. We wanted to show that throughout. So if Phil didn't come, honestly, we would have probably passed out on that field and had to be taken to a hospital. So it was like this sweet moment that he came because, like he said, I'm here to take you out of your misery because he truly did. He came to take us out of our misery. The bitter part, obviously, is that the news he delivered was news that no one wants to hear is that your amazing race journey is over. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Another thing that is important to note is the reason it was also so sweet, especially for Nick, was that the hay re-irritated his eye. And what is little known to people watching is that Nick has been racing with a piece of rice lodged into his eyeball for 3 legs. And no one really knew that. And at this point, he's digging through the hay all over again. And now the dust particles are going back into his eyeball. And now he's like re-irritating this thing. So he was ready to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But you guys got a beautiful send off with the
We did.
montage of all your favorite moments throughout the race. I think to wrap up your experience, you applied 7 times. You finally got to live out your amazing race dream. So what would you say is the biggest takeaway from your experience for the both of you?
It's really that you hold the pen to the story that is your life. And last night, I went to bed feeling like a loser. I really did. I watched us get eliminated, and it was extremely freaking painful to watch that. And I knew it was coming, obviously, because this was a year in the making, and
Right.
like this was just finally being out and told to everyone that we were eliminated in leg 7 of the Amazing Race. And like I said, we'd been training for a while, and we had much higher expectations for ourselves. And to know that we gave it our all and it just wasn't good enough was super painful. And then you know what? I woke up today and I just reminded myself that life is a story, and I'm the one holding the pen. And even though it might be true that we gave it our all and it quote unquote wasn't good enough to win the Amazing Race, that doesn't mean that we're losers. At the end of the day, we're winners because we got on the Amazing Race after 7 years of trying. We showed what it looks like to love one another with all of our heart, no matter what adversity we face. We showed what it looks like to never give up, both to get on the race and on the race.
It's all about what we choose to focus on. Honestly, today, ironically enough, we came into our office and there was a package from a fan, and we got a message a couple weeks back from this child with special needs mother saying that this kid, Noah, with special needs, is like our biggest fan and he loves us and he wants to send us a care package. And today we came into the office to a care package from Idaho with all these little goodies from Idaho.
Idaho potatoes.
Oh my God.
It came at such a special moment because it made us realize that, like, Yes, we didn't win the Amazing Race, but we touched people's lives just by being ourselves and being on this race. And we gave some people joy, we gave people laughter, and that is something that, we could take with us forever.
As a fan, as a viewer, as a former racer, it was not hard to see that you guys ran with such heart and with such determination. And so I appreciated that. And so
Thank
you
you.
guys should be very proud of yourselves. You did it. Well, it was a
Appreciate the love,
pleasure to
though.
meet the two of you. And I'm sure our paths will cross very soon in the near future.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you in person soon, James.
You too. Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.